Hello my friends, I hope you're having a lovely day, and in today's video I'm going to talk about Kunai because I've been playing Kunai a lot. I haven't finished the game, so I don't feel like I can give a final review yet, but I can certainly give some detailed impressions. I would feel okay reviewing the game because I have an idea of what it's doing, but you never know. Something might happen at the end that I really love or hate, and I just don't want to get into that area. So I figured I'd give some impressions along with my own gameplay. In Kunai, you play as a robot that's out to save the day. The story's actually kind of cool, but I don't like to give story spoilers. I really don't like to give any kind of spoilers in my reviews or impressions, so I'll let you figure that stuff out on your own. But what I can tell you is the robot is quite agile, and he gets a sword that he slices up other robots with. And as you might guess, he also gets kunai, which are, I guess technically they weren't throwing weapons, but they were used sometimes as throwing weapons. And in Kunai the game, you use them to maneuver around levels, and boy, is that a lot of fun. I am a sucker for any kind of game that uses a grappling hook mechanic, and Kunai lets you use two of them. You throw a left one and a right one, and you use them to swing around levels and climb up and over obstacles. And it's ridiculously fun. Just the movement is very fluid. You get a lot of momentum with your swings. It's very satisfying to climb up and over things very quickly using the kunai. It's just another great way to get around in a game that already feels really good to control. There's something about the control in this game that feels absolutely spot on. And to tell you the truth, that's a feeling I get from the whole game in general. The whole game feels really spot on. I would never judge a game by its cover. I would never judge a game by its first couple of minutes, but there are instances where I play a game and I play the first few minutes and I'm like, ooh, this is something special. This is going to be good. And that is exactly the vibe I got from Kunai. I don't know what it was about the game that did this, but something about it gives me a feeling or a vibe akin to The Legend of the Mystical Ninja. I'm talking about the one that was on Super Nintendo. I guess there's very slight similarities between the two, but I guess when I think of that game, The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, I think of really high quality 2D platforming action adventure. And it just feels super well made. And that is exactly the feeling I get from Kunai, and that's not a feeling I get quite often, to tell you the truth. It's just, you can tell this game was painstakingly made. It is so finely crafted in every single area, pretty much. And it's really a joy to play. It's not just a fun game, it's fun to just take control of the game. It just, you can see that a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into it, and it just feels amazing. Everything from, like I said, the controls of the character, to the design, to the environments, to the music, to the gameplay mechanics, it all feels really, really good. And you always know that the sign of a fantastic game is one that you don't want to put down. And after playing 5 minutes, I didn't want to put this down, but hours and hours later, I also was like, maybe I could go a little more. One more save room, one more boss fight. It's just, Kunai wants to hold your attention, and it does a really great job of doing that, and I don't want to stop playing. It's also very easy to see that Kunai has a very unique visual presentation, and sometimes games use visuals to wow the player, but you know, the game itself isn't all that great. But again, Kunai's visuals fit in just with the rest of the game because it's an absolutely gorgeous presentation. The cutscenes are also really something interesting. I love the way that they're done. They're more it's like a mix of cartoon-esque cutscenes or something you'd see like, I don't know, it gave me like a out of this world / another world vibe. Just, oh man, I love them. I just love the cutscenes. I love the game's visuals. I love the color palette, which Kunai uses ridiculously well. You might look at it and see like, well, there's red, there's white, there's blue, there's brown and tan, and that's pretty much it. But they go all different shades of those colors, and they combine them together into some really gorgeous stuff. And on top of that, there's elements of the visuals, especially when it comes to backgrounds, that makes me Think of Yoshi's Island. There's the way that certain walls are designed and ground elements and vines and things like that that give me that vibe. And I always thought that was a gorgeous game. I'm sure many of you did as well. And Kunai definitely has a little bit of that going on, but it's doing its own thing as well. But the visual presentation is an absolute joy. It's really breathtaking at some points, and you just sit and look at it and you're like, man, that'd make for a great wallpaper. That'd make for a great screenshot. So the gameplay, as you can probably tell, is platforming and action, adventure, and beating up bad guys. It's a Metroidvania. You go around to different areas. You have to get certain items to unlock those areas, or access new areas, or access treasure chests, because there's treasure chests hidden all over the place. You'll get new abilities. You're also able to upgrade abilities. You can connect to a shop at Wi-Fi points and hop on and pay money to upgrade different features of your character. So yeah, it's Metroidvania. And some of the maps are small and some of the maps are very big, and sometimes you might get a little bit lost, but that's what you use your in-game map for. And I guess if I had one complaint, and it is such a minor complaint, but it is my one complaint, the in-game map does an okay job, but I feel like it maybe matches with the game's visual style a bit too much rather than being more useful. I'd rather like something closer to a Castlevania style map, just, you know, squares, very clear indicators of where you've been, where you haven't been. And the map here can be a little bit tough to read sometimes, but not bad, and you can certainly figure out what's going on. And save points are labeled, and there's question marks for things you need to check out. But yeah, like I said, that's a very, very minor complaint. But then again, that might be a big issue for some people, because I've played a ton of Metroidvanias, so I'm very used to it, and I've played plenty of Metroidvanias that didn't even have maps, and nowadays that's unthinkable. So there's a map here. But yeah, it is the one tiny thing, honestly, that I can think of out of my whole time with the game where I was like, this could be a little bit better, and that's it, really. I can't think of any other complaint that I have. My experience with Kunai so far tells me that it is the next great Metroidvania game. It has an absolutely gorgeous look to it. The controls are rock solid. The game feels good to play. The game is a ton of fun to play. It's witty and charming and interesting and mysterious and just well designed through and through. It's such a joy to experience, and like I said, the best compliment I can give it is I never want to stop playing. So if you're into Metroidvanias, without a doubt, check this one out. I feel very confident in saying that. Like I said, maybe something will happen at the end of the game where I'm like, oh, that really ruined it. But, you know, it's about the journey, not the ending. So far, so good. So really good. I want to stress that I really, really like this game, which I'm sure you've picked up on by now. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting. It's very much appreciated. Also, a huge thanks to those of you who support the Patreon. I really do appreciate that. It allows me to do things like this, the video, and the podcast, and the site, social media, Facebook, all that. Well, Facebook is social media. All that stuff. It really does help. If you want to learn more about the Patreon, which is just $1, you can check out a link in the description below. But as for today, that is it. I will be back tomorrow as long as I have something interesting to show you. So until then, have a lovely day and a lovely evening, and I'll see you in a few short hours.